Hi everyone and welcome! So you've asked and now you shall receive a Snow White makeup tutorial. Let's get started. Okay, so I already have my contacts in. See, I normally have blue eyes, but I have to put brown in for Snow White. And first, with a clean face, I'm going to prime. I like to use Collab. And this is green tinted because my face tends to be rather red. Now I'll do a little bit of color correction. I have this one by e.l.f. And like I said, my face tends to be red, so I'm going to use some green. Just in those little problem areas. Like this lovely little spot in my eyebrow. And then I'll put some of this color on any spots of purple. I will put some eyeshadow primer. I like this one by Urban Decay. It's totally crucial to prime with your eyeshadow for princess makeup since you want really bold colors that will last and show up nicely in photos and video. Okay. Now for Snow, since she has a rather round face, I don't contour for her, but I will also make a separate video at some point just for contouring because I do that with the majority of the other princesses that I do. So first, for foundation, I'm currently a big fan of this one by Maybelline. It's 24-hour coverage. Use whatever company you like, of course, but just make sure to look for that, that full coverage. You want really thick, strong foundation since all these princess characters have like flawless skin. Lucky ducks. And I use a damp beauty blender. The key is to get it damp. Make sure you get down onto your neck, past your jawline, so everything blends nicely and don't have any harsh lines. Okay. So the key is really to blend like crazy. And then we'll go over it with a pressed powder. I'm currently using this one by Clinique. It's just a really light pressed powder. And use a big brush, big fluffy one. Go over your whole face. Now for Snow White, she has really bright rosy red cheeks. So I'm going to get out my big palette. It's this one by Color Workshop. For the blush, and that's what I'm after for this palette, I'm going to use this one right here. And I'm going to take my blush brush, which is this one. And you want to go bright on this. It might look crazy right now, but it'll look really good when it's done. When everything's put together. And so now is when I'll typically do the eyebrows. So since she has black hair and black eyebrows, I'm gonna use a black eyeliner. And I'm using this one by Urban Decay. So Snow White has really thin, kind of round eyebrows, so I try to make sure my pencil is fairly sharp so I can have a bit more control over the eyebrows. And I always start from the outside and work my way in. It makes it a little bit easier to keep it thin. And then I'll use like a brush like this one. It's got lots of little nifty tools all in one. And I'll use this part to kind of go over and make it look more blended and smooth. And you can go a little bit past your natural brow. Just make sure when you do that you don't go down, try to keep it rather straight. Okay. And the other side. And if you mess up or get it smeared a little bit, just go in with a cloth and just touch it up a little bit. Okay. And if you want, at this point, you can go over it with a bit of black shadow. I like to use this little brush here. Just an angled brush. Just to kind of soften it up a little bit. And it also helps to set it. There we go. Now that looks really crazy right now, but that's okay. And I like the Urban Decay pencils because they're really soft, and so it's easy to get color onto your face without having to practically scratch it into your skin. Okay, so now the eyebrows are looking pretty good. We're gonna do shadow. I like to start with a base shadow, and I use this palette by Rimmel. And as you can see, I use this brown here a lot, but it's a great transition color and it's a great base color when you have more natural eye. So I just take my big fluffy eyeshadow brush and just kind of start in the outside and work your way over. There we go. So we'll start there. And now for the main shadow, and these are the palettes that I love to use for all of my princesses. I've been using Juvia's. I hope that's how you pronounce it. I have no idea. But this is one of the palettes. This is what it looks like. Juvia. And this is the other palette here. So the Zulu and the Masquerade. Both of them are absolutely amazing. You can see there's lots of bright, very princess-friendly colors. And that's in the Masquerade. And then the Zulu has these ones a little bit bigger, but more colors. So between the two of these, I use these for virtually all of my princessing. Yes, princessing is now a verb because I made it so. Alright, so for Snow White, I like to start with this lighter one here, Giza. And I like to use my finger because I feel like it's a little bit thicker, because the key is to have the strongest pigment that you can, otherwise your eyeshadow very quickly disappears and you can put in all this work and you'll never actually see it when you're done. So I just kind of put it over the main part of the eye. Okay, so we'll start there. And then we're gonna go in with a darker color, which I'm using this angled brush for. And for snow, I'm gonna use this dark brown on this one. It doesn't have a name, but it's really the only brown on this palette, so dab it in there. I'm just gonna start in the outside of the eye and work my way in, because the outside is where you want the darkest and most pigment color. And make sure you go up and not across your eye, because you want it to look round. And then I'll go in again and get the outer corner of the eye. Okay, other side. Okay, I know that looks crazy right now, but we'll blend it, don't worry. Okay, and so now I'll take a break from that and I'll get my tiny brush here. It's just kind of flat and thin. And I'll use that for the highlight of the eye. So these palettes that I have don't have white on them. So I'm gonna use this one by Rimmel. As you can see, it has a strong white there. You don't really want too much shimmer with snow. And just dab the brush in and then put it on the top just underneath the brow. As you can see, it starts to blend and soften that line. And then go into the corner of the eye and kind of brush it up and out. Just kind of blend so everything looks smooth. Alright, so now we're going to go in the top lid again with just an even darker color for the crease. I'm going to use this one, Fulani, and I'm going to use this pointed brush here. And I'm just going to go onto the darkest part of the crease of the eye and a little bit of the corner. Whenever I get lines of color, I just kind of smudge them and blend them with my finger. Just trying to work around those wrinkles in the skin. And as you can see, I'm really packing on the shadow, really packing on that color and that pigment. Don't be afraid of bold colors, don't be afraid of pigment. It is your friend. Especially if you need it to last a number of hours. Now from here, the top of the eyelid is looking pretty good, and so we're gonna go underneath now. So you'll start with your darkest color. Again, Fulani is what I'm using, and I'm using this tiny flat brush. And I'm just gonna start at the outer corner, and I'm not gonna go too far, just a little bit. And I'm gonna make funny faces as I do this. And I like to kind of connect the bottom to the top here. Just kind of make a nice line. What's that? Other side. That's starting to look really pretty with the brown contacts. So once I do that, I'm gonna grab my next crease color, which is that big brown I showed you, and carry it over a little bit. Okay, and then lastly, I'm going to use that shimmery Giza base that I showed you. The one that's on the main light part of the lid here. You can get a bit more shimmery as you get towards the middle of the face, the inner corners of the eye. Just to kind of brighten things up. Give that almost magical princessy look. And if you want to do your eyeshadow before your foundation, by all means go for it. I know some people like to. I haven't really gotten into that habit yet, but it makes sense. As your powders fall onto your face, you want to be able to brush them off. But that's all I end up doing, is I just brush them off. Okay, so our shadow's looking pretty good now. The first one I do is the liquid black eyeliner. So this one is by L'Oreal, but the great thing about this one is that it has a tiny, tiny brush. So very tiny. And it is absolutely great for that top lash line. And then I also use this brown one by Revlon Color Stay liquid liner, and I'll show you why in a second. But first we're going to do the top lash line with this tiny brush, and I'm just going to go over the top of my lash as close to the lash line as possible, and I'm going to start thin because I can always go back and go thicker, but of course you can't really take away color. And I kind of try and get a nice wing on the outside, which even I still work on. I'm not the greatest at wings. I would definitely recommend finding a good wing tutorial, because that's not me. I struggle just like everybody else. That's not too bad, but watch me try to match it. Here we go. Other side, and I kind of start from the middle of the lid. It can help to open your eye if you want, because then the skin can change and smoothen a little bit in certain spots if you want a smoother line. It also helps to fill in the cracks if you have enough of the actual product on your brush. It kind of falls more naturally into the cracks and creases. Didn't do too bad today with the wings. And so now's the point where I'll go through and I might make my lines a little bit thicker depending on how thin I was able to get them in the first place. Okay, that looks pretty good now. So while that's drying, I'll move on to my next liner, which as I said is this brown one. And the reason why I like this one is because the formula naturally is a little bit thicker, less runny than some other products I've tried. And it also dries pretty quickly. And the key for why that's important is because I put it underneath my top lash line. And once I do that, it doesn't like bleed onto my bottom lash line. So I'm just gonna lift up the lashes a bit and go underneath them. And I try to get as close to the lash line as possible. Kind of fill in those gaps between the lash hairs. So let that dry. And now's about the time that I'll go in and I'll put on my mascara primer. I use this one by L'Oreal. And I'll put that on the top lash line. While that's drying, I'll just take a second to mention the contacts, because I'm sure that question's going to be asked of which brand I use. I use colored contacts by Fresh Look because they're a professional brand. You can totally wear colored contacts as long as they're by a professional brand. If you try to use a cheap brand, then that's when you run the risk of having damage done to your eye. So definitely go professional if you're going to wear contacts. And as you can see from all the makeup I've just been putting on my eyes, that's exactly why you need to put the contacts in before you do anything else. So that should be pretty dry by now. So I use a couple different mascaras. First I use Rimmel's Wonder Lash. I use this one for my top lashes since it has a really nice big brush. And just go over the lashes. Again, I'm gonna make funny faces. And then for the bottom ones, I like to use this other one by Rimmel. But the difference is that this one has a tiny brush. It makes it a lot easier to get those tiny hairs on the bottom. Okay, there's the bottom lashes. And what I like to do now is I like to try and make those big anime cartoon character eyes by putting some white liner on the waterline of the eye. This one's by Wet n Wild. It's a pretty soft one, so it should go on pretty easily. And that's really what you want. It doesn't matter which brand you pick as long as the product itself is soft enough. Now I think the eyes are good, so we're gonna move on to lips. I'm going to start with a lip liner. I'm using Urban Decay again, same 24/7 Glide On pencil, but this one's in the color Bad Blood. Nice, pretty color. And Snow White has kind of classic shaped lips. She has a little bit of a bow, and you can pretty much see the lip all the way out to the corners, so I'm going to follow my natural lip line, but I'm also going to make sure that I go slightly, very slightly outside the natural line just to make sure that they look big and bold, because she has those classic red lips that are very hallmark of the character. Does that make sense? No, probably not. Okay. I try to make sure with, at the lip liner step that it's even on both sides. And as you can see, I've kind of colored in a little bit around the darker parts of the lip. Now I'll go into the lip with the actual lipstick. And I love, love, love this lipstick that I've just found at Sally's by Collab. I think that's how you pronounce it. But I'm using their Matte Addiction Liquid Lip Color. Okay, so that's pretty much the makeup done. You can put some Vaseline on your teeth to try and keep lipstick off of them. That's one trick I know of, but I'm sure there's more out there. And from here, what I'll typically do is I'll spray with a setting spray. And now we can put together the completed look. And there you have it, your completed Snow White look.